Alright, let's examine some of the things that no one's talking about, or at least wise, very few people. Let's talk about all of the different things that our current situation is exposing as bad ideas. Number one, open borders. Open borders has been promoted as a racist concept that is detrimental to immigrants. Bad idea. Obviously, locking people down in quarantine so that disease can't spread or what have you demonstrates the need for border security. Because with an open border, just in the case of illness, for example, there is no security and it puts public health at risk. Lots has been said over the years about the world economy, on how it should be a global economy where one country supplies goods to another and so forth and so on, and all the pieces are spread out throughout different nations throughout the world. Obviously, given the current situation, bad idea. Manufacturing should be a little bit more localized so that if the supply chain has a break in the link, like has happened with China, you don't have mass shortages throughout the world. If you're manufacturing your own goods and your supply chain is relatively solid within your own country, you don't have to worry about such things. If people are running an inventory instead of some just-in-time system where the parts and pieces only show up when you need them, you don't have to worry about your company or your supply chain going offline because there's an excess ahead of demand. The central banking system. The same example can be used for the central banking system as the manufacturing supply chain. If you have all of your finances or financial interests centralized in other countries or nations, should that nation fall into whatever circumstance and that central banking system goes down or offline, it causes a ripple effect throughout the world. And the same can be said for fiat currency based on the price of oil. You want some kind of solid asset such as gold and silver to be able to back your currency so you don't have to worry about such big swings and risk to your what's the fucking term? Financial liquidity. And that's just a few things that has been exposed because of this most recent viral outbreak. And I suppose I'd end it with this. Censorship. Obviously, censoring people's thoughts and ideas limits information to the people who are doing the censorship in the first place. As an example, I spoke of the risks of this viral outbreak weeks ago, telling people that you might want to consider going out and stocking up then instead of having to be out banging elbows with what could potentially be infected people. Not only did that video and many others not make it out into the mainstream, not even all of my subscribers, people who clicked the button and say they want to see my content were notified even that it was produced. Because some, for lack of a better word, idiot who don't know no better thinks that if they can put their views or thoughts or just the fact that they don't like my political affiliations or ideas ahead of information that's relative and pertinent for other people to have an opportunity to survive whatever situation. So that's just a short list of the things that this recent viral outbreak has exposed as basically completely freaking ridiculous. And I'm sure as we move along, more than likely, there will be plenty more. And should you find yourself in the situation where you or someone you know has to deal with this on a personal level, where they become sick or they don't have supplies or what have you, remember the censorship aspect and just what it is they've been trying to suppress from all of us and the implications of doing so. So what does that tell us? Obviously, the people involved with the way this world runs are more concerned with themselves and their profit margins and promoting their own ideologies and ideas than to worry about the masses or the general public. As an example, should be pretty obvious based on the examples that I cited about censorship, that Google and YouTube and the other platforms that promote censorship don't give a rat's ass about you and me. Because by doing the things that they have been doing and promoting the policies and instituting them that they have, has literally endangered the public, has kept the public from information that could be potentially pertinent or have an impact on their daily lives. And because they felt the need to censor that information or suppress it, it wasn't available. So in case you haven't figured it out yet, let me spell it out for you. The same rules apply or circumstances apply anytime a business is established, or a government for that fact. At first, it's all about the people, because they need the people or the customers. And after their customer base is established and they become so big and powerful, it becomes more about maintaining the monopoly or keeping up with what their status quo has become. And when that happens, customer service and caring about the little guy goes right out the window, because they don't give a crap about that, because they have to maintain their high overhead because they've grown so big. And that's what's happened with the social media companies, and that's what's happened with the government, and that's what has happened with lots of things that are supposed to be based on our lives and our freedoms, who feel they have the right to interrupt our lives and freedoms because they have to maintain their system instead of being concerned about our own. Or more accurately, I suppose, what our own is supposed to be, as opposed to what it has been distorted into because it's been so big and bloated. Because special interests are involved that are more interested in enriching themselves and gaining power for themselves instead of the spirit of the Constitution that is supposed to be by the people, for the people. So what's the overall point here, Harley? World government and centralized power? Bad idea. Because it doesn't look out for the people. In the long run, it only looks out for itself.